Hey. All right. Hi. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the entire Abhyuday team, I'm Shruti Seth and I welcome you all to today's event. As you all know that this live session is to discuss the stigma around coronavirus and the life of people during this ongoing pandemic. Now, I know that these are very, very special circumstances and, clearly this is one hell of a global event. Before we start, I would actually, on behalf of Abhyuday, we would like to thank all the people who have joined us in fighting for this cause and leading this campaign towards success. The poster making and the slogan writing competition, Art Against Stigma, was also conducted across the country for urging people to critically analyze and think over this prevalent issue of social stigma and ostracization. On this note, Abhyuday IIT Mumbai extends gratitude towards more than 500 participants who very enthusiastically sent us their entries and indeed made the art and words speak louder than the hate and contributed immensely to creating an impact. Abhyuday has always been working to channelize the youth towards social work and will continue to do so. Well, as you all know, today's talk is part of the campaign Rising Above Corona in collaboration with UNICEF India to fight against the stigma around coronavirus and to make the path of recovery from this disease peaceful and calm. Outbreaks of communicable diseases like COVID-19 may cause fear and anxiety amongst people who may eventually lead to prejudices against people and communities, social isolation and stigma. To shine some light on this subject, today we have with us an esteemed guest, Srimati Rajeshwari Chandrasekhar, who's going to be the speaker for this event, and I'm absolutely privileged to have this opportunity to chat with her. She is UNICEF's head from Maharashtra side and the chief of the field office in Mumbai from the past 7 years. She oversees management functions and maintains external relations with government and civil society in the best interest of children of the state. Like I said, we've turned off the comments for now, but we will turn them back on at the fag end of this conversation, and then you can have, we're going to have an audience Q&A, and you can pose your questions to Chandrasekhar ma'am. Okay, so I think it's time for me to bring her on. Just bear with me for a second as I add her to this conversation. We have Rajeshwari ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hi. Sorry for all this glitch. I didn't
No. It's
expect it.
absolutely fine. It happens a lot. And in any case, at this time, there's a lot of traffic on the internet. So thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
My pleasure.
Okay, will you just give me a second? I'm just going to turn off the commenting and then we'll turn it
Okay.
back on at the end of our chat.
Sure.
Okay, so it's done. Once again, welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining me on for this delightful chat. And on behalf of Abhyuday, I welcome you. And we're all very, very eager to know your thoughts about the social stigma that unfortunately is now plaguing an already plagued society. So, first up, I would like to ask you, ma'am, could you tell us that what has UNICEF been doing in trying to combat the social stigma that is now surrounding the coronavirus?
Yeah, so you see, ever since the corona hit India, and I think it hit Maharashtra around March,
Yes.
uh, we started definitely in any pandemic, World Health Organization or WHO is the technical lead, but UNICEF supports all the community information and dissemination, and that is
Okay.
what we call as risk communication, which means that we inform communities how do you promote preventive behavior, how do you prevent getting COVID
Yes.
apart from what you do to manage COVID. So in that, keeping that focus, we have trained a lot of people in, passing on key messages, be it for the frontline functionaries like the health workers or the Anganwadi
Yes.
workers. So that is one set of people that we have trained. We've also developed a lot of materials in Marathi and distributed it across the state. We have also partnered with Maharashtra Police for them to use their Twitter account to pass on
Okay.
messages about COVID-19 through their channels. We've
Okay.
also had an interesting association with faith-based organizations for them to do what they can do in their outreach. So it could include people from the Muslim faith, the Christian faith, Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, Hindus, and also those organizations who are agnostic to any religion, like the Art
Yes.
of Living, for example. So
Yes.
they've also signed a statement of intent with us on how they can promote the work of COVID preventive behaviors. It also includes a lot of work on psychosocial support because, as you know, mental health has also become a very big
Yes.
problem. So we've
Yes.
also started a psychosocial support both in the KEM hospital, which is part of MCGM, as also through the Tata Institute of Social Sciences with the communities. For
Okay.
the children who are now locked up in schools and they don't have schools to go to because schools are closed, we've started a learning from home package so that kids could continue learning from home. And we've developed nice storybooks for children using,
Okay.
in a comic form, story form.
Yes.
So these are
Yes.
some of the areas that we have actually worked with for the
Okay.
corona and we continue to work with.
Okay, so firstly, ma'am, a big thank you for all that UNICEF does. And thank you so much for always keeping hope alive and for helping those who are the most in need. I think the world is a nicer place because of UNICEF in it. So thank you so much. Well, to stay on our topic today, as we've already discussed, that unfortunately the entire pandemic is now also suffering another layer to it, which is the social stigma that has sort of taken prevalence in a time when people are already struggling and dealing with an unprecedented crisis. So I would like to first ask you, according to you, ma'am, what exactly is the social impact of COVID-19?
See, when you say social impact, no, it affects different people, let me say differently. Society can
Yes,
be looked at
yes,
homogeneously, but there are different people. So, for the elderly, for example, whom we would call the senior citizens, right? So, for them,
yes.
it is how do they go about doing their work? They already have certain comorbidities, whether it is hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, or blood
Diabetes and stuff
pressure,
like that.
diabetes,
Yes,
exactly. So, for them, it is a double burden. It is this plus corona. So, that's one
yes,
category of people who will be impacted differently and they feel more handicapped in accessing health services.
yes,
Second category are, I think, those who are differently abled. They already had a discrimination attached to them in terms of access to health services, access to banks, access to post offices because of their being differently abled. The corona has added a double layer of discrimination as well. So that is another
yes,
category who would be very differently impacted. And in all this drama of adults and young children, there are women and girls who are always inevitably the most vulnerable in any such crisis. Because
yes,
we have seen that there is a lot of evidence now coming out world over, by the way, I'm not just talking of India, where the violence against women and girls has increased after
yes,
corona. Why? It's
yes,
linked to the fact that the men in the households have stopped getting jobs. They have
yes,
started to, take to smoking, alcohol, and all of that, and then they start beating around their vulnerable family members. So the
yes,
first ones to get impacted are the women and children. Also, it is these women and their girls, especially among the children, who go to collect water, go outside to get the provisions. So they do
yes,
that and they come back and also face the brunt of domestic violence. So
yes,
this is yet another category. And the fourth category, which is of course across the three, would be the migrants who have
yes,
actually suffered the most due to this violence, due to the coronavirus, because they had a job and suddenly they were thrown out. And they had
yes,
mouths to feed in their house. They have traveled kilometers and kilometers,
yes.
many times on barefoot, just in search of a way to go back home. And these are
Ma'am,
the
before
people who
you
went
carry
without.
on, can I request you? I think your mic is facing the fan, so I'm getting a lot of blow while you're speaking.
Okay.
Yes,
Is
this is
this
much
better?
better. Much better. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry,
Yeah.
ma'am. Carry on. Carry on. You were
So the
saying about the
migrant
migrants. Yes.
migrants is yet a fourth category of a social category, I would say. They have become a social category. They were not, I mean, they were pretty fine before coronavirus hit us. But
Yes.
when their jobs were thrown out, they were asked to go back. They had no job, no money, and they had
Yes.
mouths to feed. And for
Yes.
them, the struggle was probably the highest amongst the four categories that I would say.
Okay. Uh, Ma'am, again, talking about, you mentioned that in all these categories, unfortunately, a category that tends to generally share the brunt of most issues is women and children. Talking about children and youngsters, I'd like to ask you, what according to you would be the best way to talk to them about the coronavirus?
See, talking to children, we must understand that they would never have seen it before. Even as adults, we have not seen it. So
Yes.
there is has to be a way to assure them that it's going to be okay, that we are
Yes.
always there, either as parents or as caregivers for these children. So you
Yes.
have to have the tone which is very reassuring to them and
Yes.
say that, look, it's a bad phase, but we will see light at the end of the tunnel. But at the same time, we have to be very honest with them. We cannot hide facts from them, saying, you know what, it's all rosy, rosy. Tomorrow, when you get up, it's gone. We can't give
Yeah.
those false figures or give them false
Yes.
promises, because
Yes.
that is going to impact them much more psychologically. So there is
Yes.
a way to be assertive but yet be reassuring. There is a
Yes.
way to be patient and yet tell them the honest facts. And then
Yes.
also, while talking, it will be good if we feel that if the child is having or going through some sort of a stress, I think as caregivers, we would be the first responders to that. We'll be the first ones to detect. And having
Yes.
that honest conversation will be a very good way to treat the children.
Got it. Ma'am, coming back to, like you said, that, it's very important how we speak to the children because there's no point giving them false promises. You did mention something about it impacting people's mental health. Could you elaborate a little bit on the impact physically as well as mentally on health due to COVID-19?
You see, what has happened, there are two categories, I will say, two strata. So one is the elite that stay in the residential complexes,
Yes.
and there are those who service us in the
Yes.
residential complexes, right? So
Yes.
when I talk of those who live in the residential complexes, they had access to swimming pool, gym, and walking, and all sorts of exercises outdoor. They could go walking or
Yes.
jogging. Suddenly, all that has come to a
Being
closure
taken
because of
away.
lockdown.
Yes.
Offices have been closed, so they've been asked to work from home. So what has happened is, one, it's a natural tendency, you go binging on more food, you start
Yes.
binging on more chocolates or more whatever is
Yes,
available.
comfort
And
food. Comfort food.
yeah,
We all seem to be gravitating towards that. Yes.
exactly. And we try out new recipes, which are of course very good to eat, very tasty to eat when you eat. But it's also coupled with no exercise that we were used to before. So as a
Yes.
result, there is issue of weight gain. And then you have nothing else to do. You watch the television.
Yeah.
When you keep watching the television, then you are actually changing your sleep patterns. So your
Yes.
sleeping hours get reduced. So
Yes.
these are all the physical impacts of what is happening by staying at home.
Yes.
And then the mental impacts would be, like the lack of sleep will lead to you getting very tense when you get up in the morning. There's also fear that
Yes.
is
And
it going to happen
fatigue.
to me? Yes,
Yes. Yes.
there's a
Yes.
fatigue and there's a fear also that is this something going to happen to me? It happened to my neighbor. Am I the
Yeah.
next victim? So that
Yes.
also creates a lot of tension in the mind.
Fear and
So
anxiety.
there's the
Yes.
physical aspect and there's also the mental aspect of saying, who will take care of my family? Who will, but if I were to go to the hospital, where should I go? Will I get admitted? So those fears are also playing so much that actually it leads to many people not reporting to the hospital that they have flu or flu-like symptoms. They start
Wow.
hiding. They start
Yes.
hiding their symptoms just out of this kind of a fear. So that is also the mental impact, I will say, in addition to the physical impact.
So, ma'am, what would you recommend? Any tips that you would like to give teenagers on how best to protect their mental health during this current scenario?
See, one of the ways I think is teenagers cannot be talked to like you do with children.
Yes.
Sometimes teenagers are as good as your friends, right?
Yes.
So you cannot tell them, look, follow this and don't follow that, but you have to make them understand the situation so that they can make the decisions that will impact their lives. I think
Yes.
that is the stand we should take for teenagers. And at the same time, we must also make them divert to other practices or other hobbies which they can take up, new hobbies, whether it is a painting or it is This coding game has become, of course, very important now. We used to tell pre-COVID that to reduce the screen time, but unfortunately and ironically now, screen time is the only method of survival. There are schools
That
doing
is true.
online classes. There are offices doing working online. So you cannot talk about screen time now. But you can make them develop better habits, read books, watch films, to keep in touch
Yes.
with their friends. So these
Yes.
are the ways that you can divert their minds rather than just watch the television and look at the corona statistics. I think you can
There's
divert their
a
mind.
so there's a new term, ma'am, that has come up since coronavirus called doom surfing, which is what everyone does these days. Is
Yes,
you're constantly just scrolling news information, looking for more and more things to make you
ex-
fearful and anxious, and
exactly.
it really tends to have a very negative impact. Like, and especially if you do it at the start of your day, your entire day goes by anxiously. If you do it in the night, it's difficult to fall asleep because your mind is just
Yeah,
constantly racing,
thinking. Quite
and
right.
it's quite sad because I do realize that as a youngster, as a child in your teens, you depend largely on your peer group for everything,
That's it.
and
Exactly.
sadly the kids have been kept away from their friends and their teachers and their regular routine, so I'm sure it
Correct.
must be very, very difficult for them. But
Yeah.
thank you for shining light on what they can do to try and tide over this period, because like you said, there is hope, and the world has seen lots of calamities, and we hope that we're going to get through this together as well. Ma'am, coming back to our conversation about social stigma, how exactly would you explain it to a layperson? Like, how do we understand social stigma?
You will understand it when you experience it or when you see somebody else experience it. But in
Yes.
a very common person's or in a lay person's language, it will just mean looking at the same people, the same neighbors, the same community with different lens.
Yes.
You start isolating them, you start ostracizing them,
Yes.
you close your door upon them,
Yes.
right? And we used to, as Indians, we know about this famous Sanskrit shloka which says, Atiti Devo Bhava.
Yes.
Every person who comes to our house is equal to God. But
Yes.
today we are just doing the opposite of that. We slam the door. If we just get to know that
Yeah.
somebody was quarantined, somebody has been admitted, somebody was checked and found positive, we start banging the door saying, no, 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 we don't even want to see the shadow of that person falling. This is what is stigma. You start looking at them like they have done the most heinous crime so far, and that is why they got it and we did not get it.
With a lot
And
of
you stop.
suspicion and derision, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And so you associate it very negatively with them, their habits, that they did something wrong, which is why they got it. So I
Yes.
think that is how this spiraling of the stigma comes up.
But ma'am, why exactly is COVID-19 causing so much stigma?
You see, COVID, for all other diseases, there is some vaccine, there is some cure. The doctors know you have malaria, there is a drug. You have TB, there is a drug. You
Yes.
have measles, there is a cure. You have chickenpox, there is something. But COVID has come as a new strain of a virus, and vaccines have yet not been there in the market, right?
Yes.
It is just the process, as we all know, has just started. So basically, there is a lot of stigma because there is no cure for it. So there is a fear that if I get the corona, I'm doomed to die. That's
Yes.
the fear
Yes.
that is in the minds of the people.
Yes.
So that is why there is a lot of anxiety among the people that what will happen to me because there is no medicine. Will I get the hospital admission? Will it be clean?
Yeah.
And if I'm quarantined and if I have to go and stay in the hospital, who will take care of my family? So there is that fear which is leading to a lot of stigmatization and discrimination as well, to such an extent that when somebody dies, they don't even get a decent burial. If somebody
Yeah.
dies of corona, I'm saying, they don't get a decent burial. Or if somebody is looking for accommodation, they don't get it. Now, if you
Yeah.
ask anybody with a vacant house, you will not get accommodation. Even frontline workers who have worked and sweated it out for us, when they
And
want
put their own lives
accommodation,
at risk. Yeah. And put
exactly,
their own
they are
lives at
denied.
risk.
You're right. So they are also denied. So that is what is the large scale impact we are seeing. One is the fear and fear leading to stigma.
And what groups of people do you think are the ones that are facing the real brunt of the stigmatization?
You see, there are people who have, who have been quarantined, let's say, and so they say, oh, finish, so I don't want to have anything to do with that person. So that is one group. There are
Yes.
people who have recovered and come back, but then that one is also looked upon as yet a second category, that it's like a touch me not,
Wow.
category. You went, you came, I better not have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
And then the third unfortunate category are those COVID heroes, I will say, who have actually helped to keep our houses clean, who have kept
Yes.
our
Yes.
roads hygienic, who have
Yes.
driven us in the ambulance or been the fire service drivers or whatever it is, or even the health workers. Because of what they are doing, the 24 by 7 duty, they have also been stigmatized. So
Yes.
that is the most unfortunate part.
And what, according to you, would be the impact of stigma, ma'am?
See, what will happen and what is already happening is the social fabric that we had earlier prior to COVID has been shaken up, I will say.
Yes.
The trust has gone because of the fear that maybe that person is going to be the carrier of the virus and will transmit it to me. So in a sense, that social cohesion that existed earlier has gone, and there's a whole lot of fear and rumor mongering that is also going around in the neighborhoods, which
Yes.
is not good actually in the medium term itself. And then once people know that this is the environment, as I told earlier, they would hide their illness.
Yes.
You know, there in the earlier parts of this coronavirus, around March, April, when people were flying back to India, there were people who swallowed paracetamol tablets so that when they reach the
Reach here. They
airport,
won't have fever.
they won't have fever. So that was the extent of suppression that was happening,
Yes.
so that they could just reach home. So those are all the widespread impacts that has happened in the society. And for the
But
senior
isn't that,
citizen,
sorry, yes.
for the senior citizens, it is how do I go to the chemist shop? Earlier, I used to call, he used to come. Now the shops are closed. Where will I get my medicines from? Because the senior citizens actually will require a steady supply of their regular medication,
Yes.
which has come
Yes.
to a halt. There is also some cases, some patients, again senior citizens, who might require, let's say, dialysis treatment, right? They have 1 day a week or 2 days a week. They need to go to the hospital, and there is no transport mechanism because of the lockdown.
Yes.
How will they reach the hospital? And they cannot do without those life saving treatments. This is yet another impact that has happened on such people.
And ma'am, you know what I do feel though is that don't people realize that if you create a sense of suspicion to such a large degree, you are actually increasing the risk of transmission, because if people start to suppress information and try to hide the fact that they may in fact be infected, is more
Yes.
dangerous for the population at large. Because, if anyone were to look back at how New Zealand managed to tackle the lockdown, the entire onus was placed on the public, saying, we trust you and we know that you will let us know if you have any symptoms, and we are here to treat you and we are here to help you out, and nobody will make you feel like a smaller or a terrible person for getting infected, because it's the most equalizing sickness in the world. The biggest political leaders have ended up getting infected, so clearly nobody is safe. But if we don't correct the cause of stigmatization, we're actually increasing the risk of transmission.
Quite right. Quite right.
So coming back to that, ma'am, I would like to ask you, how would you address stigma, and what, in your opinion, would be the do's and don'ts?
See, there is first of all, we should not attribute, even in our talking in this circle or in the media, or elsewhere in the public, talk of people with corona as a COVID victim, a COVID
Yes.
suspect.
Yes.
It is not attributing a person as a statistic. He or she is a human being with
Yes.
certain value systems, and that is what we must reciprocate.
Yes.
We cannot talk of a COVID victim, so and so COVID cases, so and so COVID recovered.
Yes, it's
You
become
can say,
like a, yeah, it's an
yeah,
introduction now. Yeah.
he was a COVID patient, he was a COVID quarantine, he was a COVID
Yeah.
suspect. It's these terms itself, if we stop using, I think is a great way forward to address the stigma and discrimination.
Yes.
Because if you say people undergoing treatment, people who have recovered, is a more
A more
nuanced way.
positive way of saying it. Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
also not attributing it to a particular country, a particular race, or the virus is a yellow fever, yellow virus, it's a Chinese origin, it's a South Asian origin. It's not on, because now it is a global virus.
Yes,
It might have
absolutely.
started somewhere, but it is affecting the whole world. So I don't
Yes.
think it's correct also to call the virus as a Chinese virus, as a South Asia virus.
Yes.
So this is also when you're, categorizing it in a particular way, you're adding a color to it, which is also part of the stigma, which we need to be very careful while we talk in public, while we write in public, in the public domain, while we speak. We should be very careful what not to use and what to use.
Yes. Coming back to, are there any tips or on possible actions to counter the stigmatizing attitudes?
See, I think first of all, there are, and what has not been done enough, I think, is not to portray the real life stories of those COVID warriors, if I may call so. Those who have, as you said earlier, sacrificed their lives also for the public cause.
Yes.
I think we
Yes.
have to make their stories public, make their stories known to everybody. That
Yes.
itself is the positive storytelling around these warriors will help address stigma in a very big way.
Yes.
Rather than continuously spread the negativity around the disease and the stigma, actually the fear of stigma, according to me, is bigger than the fear of death due to disease. It has
Yes.
become so
Absolutely.
important. So to
Yes.
address it, to counter it, the best way to do it is actually to look at the positive spin around these COVID warriors. They could be our health functionaries, be they the paramedic staff, the nurses, the
The
Anganwadi
invisible
workers,
people, the invisible souls,
the
the ones who
unsung
would,
heroes,
absolutely,
the
the ones who
unsung heroes.
really make our lives so much easier, risking their
Exactly,
own health and their own lives and the lives of their families, have tried to make, we've been allowed to stay at home because they've stepped out instead of us.
exactly,
And I
exactly.
really think that needs to be applauded, and we cannot be grateful enough for their service.
So there's a lot that we have yet to do in recognizing these heroes, and especially those who are still alive and moving around. So if
Yes.
I were to just give you one example of somebody in Dharavi slums who is about 50 years old, his job is to maintain community toilets and keep them clean by disinfecting them 3 times a day. He is putting his life at risk. But why is
Absolutely.
he doing it? He said so that the footfall in the community toilets increases. That is
Wow.
why he's keeping them clean. Now, is he not doing something a human service? To me, it
Absolutely.
is. But he's an
Absolutely.
unsung hero, right?
Yes.
Or there was that guy who was posted as a security guard in the Nayar hospital, who suddenly fell sick and of course got admitted. But even when he was sick, his wife told him, "Please don't go to work today," and he said, "No, I work for BMC, and for me, BMC is a badge of honor."
Wow.
And yeah, you see, these things send a chill down your spine to think that here are those people who worked and sweated it out for us. Of course,
Yes.
eventually, unfortunately, that security guard died. But
That's
the security
unfortunate.
guard died in the line of duty. And that man was not more than 55 or 56. So you
Wow.
have those stories. You have of a community health worker whose job it was to go house to house and educate people about corona. She
Yes.
also contracted it and she too succumbed.
Wow.
So there are these stories which I think must rattle us if we are human beings, of what we can do for bringing about that positivity in these times of coronavirus. And when I alluded to earlier that the two categories of the elite and the not so elite, if we speak of Mumbai as we speak now, 80% of the incidence of cases now, as we speak, the 1,000 or so that we have reached down to, is actually coming from the elite residential societies. It's only
Yes.
20% that is coming from the not so elite society. So really the call is upon you and me and all of us in this show
Yes.
to respond to what the government is asking us to do, to maintain that personal hygiene, to maintain that etiquette. If those 20% who are not as literate as us,
Yes.
not as educated as us, not as exposed socially as us, can adhere and bring down the infection rate, and it's only
Yes.
for out of every 120 cases, but out of every 180 cases are coming from our category of people who
Then
have
there.
all the wherewithal,
Yes.
who,
Yes.
who
Yes.
have the access to information, but just have an attitude of why should I wear a mask? Why should I not go out into the public? So we are the ones who need to discipline ourselves if we have to make. So this is another thing added to that stigma story that I was telling you about.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I would just like to sort of turn on the comments so that if there are any questions that our audience has, you may be able to, throw some light on their queries. So I'm
Sure.
just going to turn this on and see if we have any questions from the audience. Um, Okay, so guys, you all are watching, and I hope that you have been enlightened, just like me, by Chandrasekhar ma'am. Her words have been so inspiring and so positive, and I hope that all of us can start steering the conversation more towards the positives rather than fear mongering and stigmatizing people. If there are any questions that you have for her, please post them now, and I'm sure that she'll be happy to answer them. So, anyone, do you have any questions regarding COVID-19 and the stigma that is currently plaguing a lot of people? Um, so, we're not going to be talking about the cure or the vaccines right now. Ma'am, though somebody wants to know that, do you think once a vaccine is in place, do you think that might help reduce the stigma around the disease?
See, the stigma is should be looked at independent of the vaccine. The vaccine, when it will come. But the
Yes.
stigma is something which is in a very immediate short term that we can see it staring at us in the face. Vaccine
Yes.
will take a little longer to come. We cannot allow stigma to continue till the vaccine comes. The
Yes.
vaccine's purpose is very different. It is to provide that immunity to that particular person. But the
Yes.
stigma is all in our head, right? It's not in our bodies. So
Absolutely.
it is for us to change our attitudes up here before the vaccine comes. And that is the
Yes.
fight in which we're all in it together.
Yes, absolutely. Ma'am, everyone is commenting saying that they found the session extremely insightful and helpful. So I thank you on behalf of the entire audience, and of course, Abhyuday. You've been so kind to take time out to chat with us. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Chandrasekhar ma'am. I wish you and your family safety and good health in this time. And once again, a big thank you to UNICEF for all the things that they do for the community at large. Thank
Well,
you.
thanks to you too, and thanks to the team up there. It was also my pleasure and privilege to represent UNICEF here in this talk. Pleasure is mine, and be
Thank you, ma'am.
safe as always.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care
Thank
and stay safe and stay home.
Yes. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that session. It was very deeply insightful, and I'm so glad that Chandrasekhar ma'am was able to throw light on the issues that plague our society. And I hope that all of us can learn something from this time. And I hope that it can teach us to be better, more empathetic, more compassionate. And, this is the first time that we as a global community have been impacted by something all together at the same time. So maybe there is a larger reason for it. Maybe it's meant to bring us closer, to make us kinder. And I hope that we can all do that. I would just like to say that this was such a pleasure for me. Thank you for having me host this on behalf of Abhyuday. And I would like all of you to try and educate people around you and your families and your peers to be nicer, to be kinder, and And let's try and support those who end up getting infected. But there is a cure, and from whatever information is out there, there is a fair chance that a lot of us are going to get infected. So let's extend the same compassion, the same love, the same empathy that we would like extended back to us in the unfortunate circumstance that we do get sick. So I urge you all to be kinder, be nicer, and let's try and abolish whatever stigma that is currently gaining ground around coronavirus. Thank you so much for being here today. Have a wonderful evening. And I hope that this is all over soon and all of you can go back to your daily routine of being in college, in classes, with your friends, with your families. And I can only say that the world is in very good hands with you kids. So over to you all. And I hope that you can repair whatever sadly we've all broken. But stay safe, stay healthy. And when you do step out, please maintain social distancing, wear a mask over your nose. That's the way to wear the mask. And make sure that you wash your hands, maintain the etiquette that one is supposed to. And I hope that you will have a wonderful evening ahead. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.